Trump was at a AI summit where he's announced a sweeping new AI policy. Then, you know, end of last week, he announced a crypto policy.
Yeah.
These are very, very major policy initiatives that are reversing previously held American policies. Trump is unleashing the power of the big tech. He's saying that, look, there are going to be no more restrictions. You go innovate, you take the lead, and we want to win the AI race. We also want to be the crypto capital of the world. The US is going to be in a position to dominate the technology standards, to export tech stacks to other countries. So in a way, since the rest of the world is so far behind, look, I think, we've been so focused on the, trade dispute with Russia oil purchases and Pakistan, of course, that, we're not paying enough attention to what else is happening in the United States. In India, the challenge for us is to see how do we use the full resources of India, including the private sector, to be able to catch up with some of this technological change.
So in this week's column in Rajamandala, you bring up something very interesting, which is sort of, it goes beyond, I suggest everyone read it. It gives us a lot of history as well as facts, as well as perspective on collaboration, as well as what's happening within the United States, what India needs, what's happening with the US and the world in terms of technology and collaboration, which is the which is, I mean, we're looking forward hopefully to a trade deal sometime. That's going to be a big factor in that. We've been constantly talking about from the ISET, which was signed under the Biden administration, about technological cooperation. So, one of the things that I think everyone would like to know first off is what is the state of, I mean, both like what you say in the piece, but internally, how is America reoriented now? And what does it mean for its external orientation in terms of
Yeah,
collaborating on
yeah,
high-end technologies?
yeah. Look, I think, we've been so focused on the, trade dispute with Russia oil purchases and Pakistan, of course, that, we're not paying enough attention to what else is happening in the United States. There's very little reporting, there's very little commentary or analysis. For example, in the last 2 weeks, I mean, I think Trump was at a AI summit where he's announced a sweeping new AI policy. Then, you know, end of last week, he announced a crypto policy.
Yeah.
These are very, very major policy initiatives that are reversing previously held American policies. And the impact of these transformative initiatives that US is taking, they're going to have an effect on everyone. And I think we need to pay attention to those. I think the big change that is happening is really on AI and on crypto. While Biden tried to regulate these technologies in the name of liberalism, in the name of social good, in the name of limiting the power of the big tech, what we now have actually is Trump is unleashing the power of the big tech. He's saying that, look, there are going to be no more restrictions. You go innovate, you take the lead, and we want to win the AI race. We also want to be the crypto capital of the world. And in fact, the previous administration, Biden administration, was actually conducting prosecution against a lot of the crypto
Yeah.
companies. Now he's ended those prosecutions and he's saying to the Silicon Valley big tech, go ahead and make what you want. We know that it's already the big tech, the Silicon Valley big five, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook. These companies have become so big,
Yeah. But
Nvidia, that each one of them close to $4 trillion of stock market valuation. And with this new initiative, they're going to be a lot more powerful within the US. And what he's saying is that, look, we are going to use these technologies to restore American dominance. So I think so far we've only seen, in terms of tariffs,
yeah.
the tariffs were about really
Yeah.
restoring, some manufacturing back to India. But
Yeah.
here he's talking about using technology to really regain American dominance, as well as using crypto and stable coins to reclaim the primacy of the dollar and to put an end to the talk about de-dollarization. So it's really consequential developments. They'll have impact on India over longer term. While currently we must deal with the trade dispute, the technological developments are going to have major impact on India.
You also speak about an interesting, like driven by the sort of Iron Randish kind of figure, like Peter Thiel's this belief of this, the great genius solving or going ahead, forging ahead with tech and this thing in America. How do you contrast that with, say, an earlier time, which I think Fareed Zakaria in a recent interview sort of tried to put it, that there was a triangle that led to America's invasion, which was your state funding, particularly defense research, which had ties in with the university, which was the sort of incubator of great ideas
Yeah.
and great technologies, which fed into the private sector. And all three sort of had this was the triangle that sort of has pushed a lot of American innovation domestically and then led to its dominance. How do you see that now changing with the university equation seems to be out of it a little bit, at least for now, with his attacks on that innovation ecosystem. So how do you see this different as an ideological framework going forward?
No, no, I think the big shift is really a lot more research is happening, and generation of new ideas is coming from the private sector companies. While the universities remain very, very important, because, see, in all these protests, most of it takes place with the humanities people.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
STEM crowd,
yeah,
because Howard has taken a fight, there's going to be some cut in funding.
yeah,
But really, the work of American universities in incubating new ideas, that remains quite powerful. And many of the on this STEM side, professors act as consultants, professors act, closely in partnership with the tech companies. So what that partnership remains. I think what Trump has done is to make the state not as a regulator, but as an enabler
yeah,
of new technologies by lifting restrictions, by making it easier for them to develop. And already, as we said, these companies are so big, and with the new freedom, I think they're going to produce a lot more. We've seen in the space sector, for example, space used to be a governmental activity,
yeah,
like even in the US with the private sector contractors, but NASA was the main space launcher. It was defined the space initiatives. But today it's SpaceX of Elon Musk and the Blue Origin of Amazon
yeah,
and a whole lot of other actors, private actors, are now taking the lead. I think this is the big change that has taken place. And I think in India, the challenge for us is to see how do we use the full resources of India, including the private sector,
yeah,
to be able to catch up with some of this technological change where the private sector is leading the initiative.
right,
That I think would be one of the imperatives that we have to deal with. But the
yeah,
main point is the money that the private sector has,
mm,
the mobilization of the investments, and the overall technological talent of India,
yeah,
sorry, of the United States, of course, with a lot of Indians there, that it is actually going to be now unleashed,
yeah,
unbound in ways in which is going to be quite powerful. Impact is going to make on the world.
yeah. Then there's the other model you speak of, which is also, I mean, the China is the other elephant in the room. They have it is quite remarkable the technological progress they've made. Like you point out in the piece, their space program starts sometime after ours does. Ours starts at the time of independence, but they are far ahead of us. I mean, for in terms of just fund and then in fundamental research of all kinds and high-end manufacturing and tech. That is a state-driven model. America is now going for this sort of private sector heavy big tech model. Uh, do you think these are also going to, one is strategically, but there's also going to be a in other countries to help or sort of export those models in some way, like there used to be during the Cold War, that you come with our like you let Facebook in or China's go, you let our companies in or our government in and we'll help you or work with you. You see that happening more and more, or is it just going to be sort of less evangelical in that sense?
No, for example, I think the Trump is talking about actually, promoting U.S. AI exports. In fact, while Biden tried to regulate the exports, uh, Trump is talking about actually dramatically supporting the U.S. tech industry to export the new AI infrastructure and products, of course, with subject to national security requirements. And I think here the effect of this, is really if the US is going to be, if even one tenth of the hype about AI,
Yeah,
and if all the investments that are being promised actually go in, as these effects unfold, the US is going to be in a position to dominate the technology standards, to export tech stacks to other countries. So, in a way, since the rest of the world is so far behind China, US and China, the US wants to do it. China, for example, already does it. For example, with its digital Silk Road, with
yeah,
its
right.
the space Silk Road, and increasingly on AI, that it has the capabilities to actually influence decision making in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Trump is also, meanwhile, threatening European Union and other states. If we try to regulate the big tech, that he's going to put even more tariffs or he's going to take punitive action. So, in a way, he's clearing the ground. And I think in 4 or 5 years, when the results of these begin to come out, the US will have, I think at least that's a betting,
Mm.
that they'll have the upper hand in shaping not just their policies, but everyone else's other than
Right.
China, of how
Yeah.
do you, what kind of AI will you do, who runs them, who controls them. So the dreams of sovereign AI, which as
Yeah.
Europeans had it, India has it, so how that fares in the face of a dramatic expansion of US and Chinese AI capabilities,
Yeah.
that is the big question. And I think for India to remain a player, we need to start investing a lot more
Yeah.
in this, and the government must really facilitate through infrastructure providing, while the private sector must really be brought in to really support this process. And finally, I think unless we invest in research and development,
Yeah.
unless we do more scientific research, where I think we've fallen behind there as well,
Yeah.
that there is going to be challenge of coping with the technological revolution.
So do you think, final quick question on the just the follow up on the India front, is that, do you think, I mean, we've known this, we know we need more R&D, it's not this is that there is an element of long-termism, which say China would have, or dynamism that the US, even now, for all the exaggerated reports of its decline, that will of both in the private sector and from the government, because we see that private sector across sectors investments are just not coming in. They're not putting I mean the joke is you're still on the Bombay plan about India's private sector, that you don't really want to risk things and do new things. You just want to do sarkari thekedari, to put it in a listen. Do you think there's some
Yeah.
truth to that and it needs a little bit more
No,
urgency?
it's absolutely. I think India's per capita, no, sorry, India's percentage of GDP that goes into R&D is very low.
Yeah.
It's barely not even 1%. And the private sector is actually, because of the overall economic environment, business environment, there's no incentive for them to invest. So they prefer to bring stuff from outside, put the made in India labels, or stick things together rather than actually invest in R&D. But I think in the end, it is government's responsibility to create conditions where the private sector is now forced to
Yeah.
invest more in R&D rather than simply work on borrow from other countries and then try to build on it.
Yeah.
But I think as the US dominance and Chinese dominance becomes real, I think this is going to hit us.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I think we need to begin to focus on R&D as a whole. Other
Yeah.
is the danger of what if the AI takes off in a manner that people are saying, its effect on the Indian IT sector,
Absolutely. Yeah.
whether the current jobs will survive,
Yeah.
how much of it, and in what form. There again, how do you get to the next level? Because IT sector forms a major component of Indian economy, and the large labor force that is there in this,
Yeah.
and the large Indian talent that is going abroad. So the effects are going to be quite significant. It's a pity that we've really not even had a debate
Yeah.
on what is happening in this technological revolution.
Yeah.
I think we are stuck so much on immediate bilateral issues, the issues of the day, rather than seeing the deep structural change that is unfolding in the United States.
Right, sir. Thanks so much, sir. We'll speak again next week. Everyone, read the piece, watch the video, come to the IndianExpress.com. Okay.